Hello, everyone. Welcome to EEP Africa Knowledge Week 2025. Thank you all for joining us. Just to let you know, this session is being recorded. My name is Kelly Kiadara, and I am the Fund Communications Officer at EEP Africa. It's a pleasure to host you today. So EEP Africa Knowledge Week is a 3-day virtual event exploring emerging themes and innovative projects in the clean energy sector across Southern and Eastern Africa. And most importantly, the goal of this week is to empower the voices of entrepreneurs. So before we dive into this incredible session of day one, I would like to share a few house rules. So if you have any questions throughout the session, please feel free to send them into the Q&A, which is located next to the chat function at the very top of the screen. And if you see a question that you would like answered as well, please give it a vote so we can prioritize it. And you can vote on a question by clicking the arrow under the question. We will do our best to answer as many questions as possible if there is time at the end of the session. So without further ado, we do have an exciting session on navigating repairs in the off-grid sector, moderated by Rebecca Rhodes, Senior Strategy and Programs Manager at GOGLA, joined by Jamie McCloskey, Director of Programs and Partnerships at SolarAid. We also have a powerful lineup of panelists: Kudzi Chitiva, CEO of Natfort Energy; Kinya, co-founder and managing director at Kijani Testing; Karla, Kanyanga, operations director at SolarAid, SunnyMoney Zambia; and Edward Mpasu, customer services manager at Zuwa. We look forward to an insightful discussion. With that, I hand over the floor to you, Rebecca.
Hi everyone, and thank you, Kelly. Thanks to EEP for inviting me to moderate this important discussion today. So as Kelly said, I work at GOGLA, and for the past 5 years, I've led our work to help companies implement effective e-waste and circularity processes. I'll start just by kind of giving a bit of a framing context, and then we'll move on to the sort of repair-focused deep dive. So for more than 50 million off-grid solar products have been sold each year since 2022. And these products, so solar lanterns, solar home systems, and productive appliances like solar water pumps, are bringing life-changing benefits to their users. But like all electronics, they have a lifespan. And at the end of that lifespan, users have a choice to discard, to repair, recycle, or repurpose that product. Some choices, though, are not available to everybody, and some are easier than others to make. So I just want to put it out there and let me ask all of you to think about, okay, the last electrical product in your own home that broke down. What did you do with it? And feel free to write your answer in the chat just to kind of get things going. And I'll start by saying, just this morning, I threw out my phone's USB charging cable that had stopped working, and I threw it into our recycling bin that gets picked up every Friday. I'm really lucky that I have that service come to me each week, and for me, that choice is made a lot easier. But far too many don't have that choice, and too many electronics are being discarded, either in landfill or informally into our local environments. Both options have really detrimental effects, and the global estimated cost of that is 37 billion USD. To secure our digital and renewable future, we need circular solutions, and we need to build them into the value chain today. We need to recover the vast amount of precious metals from broken electronics and extend their usable lifespan. And I'm really excited that actually globally, the right to repair movement is having a moment. So the EU passed the Right to Repair Directive in June last year, and hopefully similar regulations will develop elsewhere as well. And I really think these initiatives can make ground in sort of reducing the amount of e-waste and extending the benefits of electronic products that we own. It shouldn't be a surprise to us that per capita, though, the African continent produces the least amount of e-waste, and off-grid solar is still only a very small part of that. Estimates for Kenya suggest it's around 8% of total e-waste, but it's growing, and as we reach kind of SDG 7 goals, is going to grow, hopefully, a lot more in the next 5 or 6 years. And so within our sector, it's important too that end users have the right to repair, and that the investment that goes into reaching those people in the first place is maximized, and the impact of electricity access can be extended for as long as possible, and with affordable, accessible repair solutions. So it's not easy to do, particularly when serving remote and last mile communities. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing today from 4 companies that are making progress in offering repair services to customers, and really breaking down how we as a sector can enhance access to the high quality and affordable services. So before we go into the panel, I'm going to hand over now to Jamie McCloskey from SolarAid, who's going to tell us more about what they've learned about the landscape of repair in the sector. And then we'll go to the panel discussion. Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to be here and to really contextualize the discussion we'll be having, not just looking at what SolarAid's been up to, but what has been planned with partners and what is coming, and the viewpoints of different stakeholders in this sector as it pertains to repair. So really what we're looking to do as a collective, and what SolarAid's been doing for the last few years, is to see how we can turn repair from a burden to an opportunity for all of us. So next slide, please. So just to start with why, I mean, Rebecca gave us a nice introduction there to show us why this is important. But specifically to the off-grid energy sector, it is estimated that 75% of all products sold are currently non-functioning. So it doesn't mean they're in disrepair and they are now waste. It means that there is the opportunity to try and repair these products. But that is a huge figure that we should be looking at quite seriously as a whole sector. And while recycling is absolutely critical and we need to build better infrastructure, in its current form, it is not adequate to serve the e-waste volume that we have. And by prioritizing repair first, we can extend or delay the unnecessary production of e-waste. And the impacts that has is significant, and largely to, most significantly to the rural customers, the last mile customers, because logistics is very difficult to get to them. And if there is no option of repair, then it's having to buy a new product. But to flip that, there is also, particularly in rural sub-Saharan Africa, there is a vibrant repair culture, and customers want their products repaired. Our customers have tried either themselves or through third-party technicians, but the quality is low, or the repair doesn't work altogether. So for us, why? It's to improve our service, and I look forward to hearing more from my colleagues in the panel discussion later, is to reduce unnecessary e-waste, and it's also to protect our sector, because this is a huge problem, and we are apparently a very green sector, so we need to make sure that we are addressing repair properly. Next slide, please. Thank you. So just a quick whistle-stop tour, SolarAid and repair, because this will contextualize the rest of the presentation. So we've been repairing products since inception, since SunnyMoney, our social enterprise, was created in 2008. We were making our own solar products at that time, wooden frames for panels, for example. But we've really dived in deeper since 2019. And there's really 3 main things to speak on now, which is, the first is testing, can we repair these products? Because as my colleagues will, I'm sure, attest to, there's a varying degree of how repairable products are, whether that be the design, restrictive or otherwise, the accessibility to spare parts. So we've really dived in to discuss with the end user, different stakeholders, manufacturers included, to really see how feasible repair is as a starting point. Building upon that is testing localized approaches. Last mile distribution is difficult, as we know, and the reverse logistics is also very challenging. So we've seen what we can do and how we can replicate models and give those models to the choice of other distributors to make localized repair more feasible. So that's either sales agents repairing products. If you think batteries are the most common fault, about 70% of failures. If the design allows for a simple battery switch, we found that sales agents are more than capable of doing that to a high quality. Also working with independent repair technicians, that vibrant culture we're talking about, how can we utilize and leverage the existing ecosystem that exists? Then also regional repair hubs. We've been testing, and we have 6 of those in Malawi. The first 2 we've been testing in Zambia. And then energy as a service. You may have seen SolarAid talk about energy as a service a lot lately, but because the ownership of the asset is not on the customer, it's on the service provider. What that does to repair and also maintenance of products, and to make a business model more feasible by not having to replace the products every 5 years. This could be a transformational approach to controlling the flows of e-waste. The third point is overcoming barriers, which is really contextualizing the rest of this presentation, because we ourselves faced so many barriers, and Karla will elaborate from her direct experience on those. But there's many that exist, and we've really been seeing how can we not just solve these for ourselves, because in isolation we can't solve these barriers. It's going to take more of a collective, holistic, off-grid energy sector approach. We've been seeing what we test, what tools we create, how can they be utilized by others? Next slide, please. Some top-line stats of what we found ourselves. That's 75%, that huge figure of solar products that are non-functioning and out there. 90% of those are hibernating in the household. Customers that we've spoken to either have a sentimental attachment to their products, or they're hoping that it might be able to get repaired. And amazingly, we found out that 91% of these products are actually repairable. That just shows the huge opportunity we have and the obligation we have to reduce e-waste, but provide a better service to our customers. And we found the cost was actually a lot cheaper than replacing a product. Of course, in warranty, out of warranty, there's some detail there. And the repair was quite simple. A lot of the time it was quite simple. Battery replacement being the example I've already used, sales agents being able to repair to a high standard. But there are many barriers that still exist to make this universally feasible. Next slide, please. And just an example of one of the tools we've created, and we are continuing to create and also provide a platform for others to do the same, is the knowledge gap. So training is great. We have training modules that we've been working on, but it's static. So we have been thinking, how can there be a continual provision of diagnostic and repair guidance? So we created the SunnyMoney Repair Guide mobile app, very catchy name, I'm sure you'll agree. And we are now looking in this next phase to see how it can become the encyclopedia for companies, for customers potentially, and for independent technicians for all product types. Next slide, please. And I'm sure some of you have seen, but we will share the links to the 2 reports we've produced in partnership with the University of New South Wales and many sector experts as well. And this is really our focus, is to not just keep things to ourselves, but provide insights that we can build upon. And next slide, please. What I'm going to go into now is our latest report, which is the State of Repair Survey, because really what we're trying to gather here is not just the voice of the off-grid energy sector as a whole, but the different stakeholder types, whether it be a distributor, a manufacturer, an investor, a vertically integrated company. So that's what we started here. So we want to see the state of repair services, the challenges, and the potential solutions. 75 stakeholders responded, which was way more than we actually expected across 31 countries. And we found that 90% of distributors offer repair services, some form of repair services already, and the 10% that don't, they want to. And I'll go into some of the insights now, but the conclusion is we face the same challenges, and they're ones that we cannot independently overcome simply. So urgent sector-wide action is needed. Next slide, please. So just looking at the motivation of why we do it, because this is so important to understand everything that follows, all the challenges, the barriers, the solutions. So you can see here, you have distributors, vertically integrated companies, and manufacturers. And I'll just touch on the top three: reputation and customer loyalty. How can we improve our services to the end user? It's amazing to see that first, and it shows the dedication of our sector. And combine that with the third one, environmental sustainability. We do care about the environment. There are all of these products out there. We just need to unlock how we can get them, repair them, and recycle them when they need to be recycled. And the third one is cost savings. How does this improve our business models? How does this improve not just the service to the customer, but potentially reducing the cost to the customer themselves as well? So it's great to see why we are doing this, as well as, next slide, please, going into some of the common issues. Now, my colleagues who will speak, they'll be able to elaborate much more on these. There are many things that can go wrong with a solar product, but I just want to touch on batteries as the example. We find about 70% failures are batteries. And this really is a low-hanging fruit for us. When you look at it simply, oh, you can just replace the batteries. But the reason to highlight it is, while it is the most common repair issue, it is incredibly difficult to tackle. That can be in the restrictive product design. In some products, it can be in the lack of standardized batteries. So, Karla can tell us how many battery types we have in Zambia. It's pretty crazy. It can be in actually accessing the spares themselves. It can be in many, many things from all different areas that we need to address to just be able to repair batteries. So it's good to see what the issues are, but the rest of this talk is really going into how we solve this, because it is very difficult for individual distributors or vertically integrated companies as well to solve them on their own. Next slide, please. Challenges. These are the main 6 challenges that came up, and it goes to highlight what I was just touching on in terms of using batteries as the example. So number 1 is access to spare parts, whether that be from the manufacturers themselves or from third-party manufacturers. Both are being used by distributors, but it's still very difficult to do so. So let's look at that. Second is the cost of product repair. Spare parts go into that. There's many things that go into that. Last mile logistics, product tampering, training capacity, restrictive product design. I won't go into detail on all of them. So we'll go to the next slide, please. So this is the last piece of the report I just want to highlight before looking forward. What we asked is distributors, vertically integrated companies and manufacturers to rate how we are performing in the different facets of repair. So you have safety, compliance, customer satisfaction, timely collection, cost of repair, manufacturer support. I just want to highlight 2 things here. You can see there is a cascade from manufacturers rating the highest to distributors rating the lowest across all of these. But then if we look specifically in manufacturer support, manufacturers rate themselves at a 5 out of 5 in terms of the support they offer distributors. But that halves in terms of the distributor feedback, about 2.5. The reason to highlight that is it shows that we are misaligned, and it can be very difficult for an individual organization, a company, to try and solve these challenges when we are not aligned in this way. And it's not to call out manufacturers and say, you need to do better, this, that, the other. We really need to be talking about this together, because there are many different solutions and there is no silver bullet to solve this. It will take collective action. Next slide, please. So this is why SolarAid is launching the Off-Grid Solar Repair Lab, partner-led initiative, sector-based initiative, which is really what that means is how there are many individual organizations doing great things in repair. You're just about to hear some of them. But as I've said, solving these issues, solving these challenges cannot be done in isolation. We need to come together, have a shared strategy for action. and that is to raise our collective voice, whether it is with policymakers, legislators, or funders. And we also need to amplify the customer voice. We have a lack of data across the whole sector, but specifically on repair, we need to know more from the customer themselves to inform our decisions and inform the models we're building. Then there's replication. SolarAid's work is ongoing in terms of the tools, the models designed for others to utilize, but there are other organizations doing similar things. How can we bring that together to share the best of what we have? And then, like I said, there's no silver bullet. So how are we working across all areas? Innovation, testing, best practice, financial modeling, tools that we can use, whether it's the app or training, policy, advocacy, all of these things need to be addressed. We have some, just to say, some launch funding from Triple Jump, Signet Capital, the University of New South Wales, our partner of bringing the Australian government in. And we do have some initial partners confirmed, GOGLA being one of them. And we're in fundraising mode, and we hope to launch this lab at the GOGLA AGM in June. And just to finish off, next slide, please. It's just two more. Now, I'm not going to read through this slide, and I don't expect you to read this slide. But just to show the lab idea, what's coming together, what we've been working on, this is 5 years in the making. Not just SolarAid, but many partners. And everything listed here, underneath better access to spares, more repairable design and consumer protection, and business model testing, training, and sharing. All of the things here are either already being worked on, planned to be worked on, and there are a couple we're in initial discussions on how to do it. So the reason to show this is, one, there is a variety of things we need to do. This is not exhaustive. As the lab sets up, we will bring partners in to discuss and bring their ideas to the table. But so much is happening already, and we need to together be focusing on how to overcome these challenges so all of us can protect our sector from forces that may see what's going on and not like it and impose regulation on us that we haven't contributed to design. And to allow us to feasibly reach not just our customers, but particularly the last mile customers who are struggling in their availability of repair services, as well as access in general. And lastly, to support the amazing colleagues who are just about to take the stage in the how to deliver these repair services that they are delivering. How do we support as a sector to make this as viable, as financially feasible, and as effective as possible? So with that said, last slide, please. Thank you very much. There's my email address if anyone wants to reach out. If you don't, you may hear from me in the next couple of weeks anyway. We're pushing out a lot of things, get the money in to launch the GOGLA AGM. But thank you very much. And to end in a very cheesy way, let's try and turn repair from a burden to an opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Really echo that sentiment. There's a lot of opportunity here if only we can kind of break down some of these barriers. And I would recommend and just encourage everyone on the call to read the report that SolarAid published last year. I think Kelly posted it in the chat. So yeah, have a look at that. There's some really great insights, really great information, and a good look at what's currently happening. As Jamie mentioned then as well, we do have, so it isn't a one size fits all solution for this, and there's lots of nuances and lots of different angles to repair, whether it be third party repair services, in-house, in warranty, out of warranty, and so I'm really glad to kind of invite all of the panelists on now and bring in their different perspectives and the different kind of activities that they are working on in the sector. So welcome to Kudzi, Kinya, Karla, and Edward. And as we just introduce them, I would like to invite each panelist to introduce themselves, their company, and tell us a little bit about their journey so far. So we'll start with Kudzi from Natfort Energy.
Thanks a lot, Rebecca. And hello, everyone. Yeah, so my name is Kudzi Chitiva. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Natfort Energy. We are based in Zimbabwe with our headquarters in Harare. So just to give you a little bit of background about Natfort Energy, so we offer off-grid and on-grid solar product distribution and installation services. These include solar home systems. We've got what we call large home systems. These are basically components-based solar systems. We also offer project services in the C&I sector. But now we're also recently evolving into a full repair service provider for solar products. Thanks, obviously, for the GDC Trailblazers project that we're involved in, which I shall speak to a little bit later. So Natfort officially launched operations in 2014. We're basically a small off-grid, and on-grid solar services provider. Then we evolved into more like a to-go-to solar EPC company in Zim around about 2018. And in that same year, as a company, we took a deliberate decision to, come up with a new product line, so to say, to address energy needs for low-income groups and marginalized communities. So that's when we launched our Solar Pay Go business unit. And then we started distributing solar home systems products. So since then, we've been fortunate enough to get quite a number of grants to scale our efforts. Obviously, from the backdrop that, as economies grow, there's SDG 7, for instance, that is trying to address accessibility of clean energy for all. And then obviously, various in-country initiatives to promote clean energy, particularly for marginalized communities and hard-to-reach areas. So we then had also a couple of other instruments that supported us, as a couple of debt instruments that we managed to get from a couple of other funders to basically scale social enterprise. And to date, we have distributed over 10,000 systems, mainly in rural and peri-urban areas across Zimbabwe. So thank you.
Thank you very much, and great to hear about where you started from and get into that kind of magic 10K number where you are today, and hopefully growing more in the next few years as well. So let's move to Kinya from Kijani testing, and let's hear about what you're doing in Kenya.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kimathi, and I'm co-founder and managing director of Kijani Testing Limited. So our story begins with a challenge, one that stems from a positive effort, and one that Rebecca has already brought up at the beginning of the session. In the last decade, we have seen a surge in the adoption of sustainable technologies. But with this growth, there's a major problem that comes with it, and that is one of product quality and reliability. There's a report by Lighting Global that states that there is currently about 150 million solar kits sold globally, and over 70% of these kits are not functioning. As Jamie said, this does not necessarily mean that they're irreparable, they're just not currently being used. Another issue is most of the off-grid products that are sold in sub-Saharan markets are manufactured outside of the region and are often imported. Now, these markets are often very price sensitive, and we find that most of the suppliers will tend to import very poor quality tier 4 and tier 5 products. At Kijani, we provide comprehensive support services. We work closely with manufacturers and suppliers of innovative products in various stages of product development, and our unique offering being introducing end user feedback on product performance and functionality very early on, mostly before the product is launched. Our services include market research, prototyping, field tests, and quality assurance. So our entry into the repair space was not really planned. From my introduction, you can see that we are mostly focused on introducing products into the African market. But our entry into the repair space was driven by demand. So we started receiving a lot of calls from customers that we worked with. Remember, our support to innovators usually involves getting customers to give feedback on how these innovations perform very early on. So these customers would call us and they would be struggling to find repairs for their other off-grid appliances. And they were very willing to pay for these services. So this made us realize that support to get products into the market is not enough. We need to have a system where we keep the products working. So last year, we launched our after-sales support services, and we now provide training, repair, and maintenance services to organizations that want to outsource this component and focus on growing their sales. We have recently finalized our pilots in Kakuma. This is in northern Kenya, where we repaired over 500 appliances in under a year, which shows that there's a need for repair services. And from our Kakuma pilot, we have seen similar trends to those reported by Jamie, where customers are showing a willingness to pay for repair services and most product failures coming from batteries and switches. We, however, noticed that from our data collection in Kakuma, we found that quite a number of suppliers of generic products do not offer technical support. They usually will offer it as an add-on, and they will involve a freelance technician. But this is like a very small data case from some data that we collected in Kakuma. So currently, we are looking to expand operations across Kenya, introduce more service stations. We're also looking to partner with organizations that are interested in outsourcing the after-sales support services. Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kinya, and we'll dig much more into that later in the session. Looking forward to hearing about how do we link quality to repair services as well. Let's go now to Karla. If you could introduce yourself and perhaps give a bit more context about the specifics of the repair project with SolarAid.
Sure. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Karla Kanyanga. I'm the country manager for SolarAid Zambia. So SolarAid was started in Zambia back in 2008, and we're actually owned by SolarAid, the international NGO based in the UK, which Jamie that spoke earlier is a part of. And so I've been with Zambia almost 15 years. In June will be 15 years with SolarAid. And I've really been able to see the solar sector change over the years. It's been amazing to see how it's evolved and how solar companies have come in, and now how we're starting to look at repair and how important that is to the sector. So it's been interesting that Jamie and Rebecca and Kinya all talked about this number that we've been talking about. You know, it's estimated that 110 million solar lights and solar home systems have fallen into disrepair. So your customers may have one or they may have many of these solar systems. And this is a huge e-waste challenge. But, you know, when I was thinking of this number, we have to stop and think about that number, 110 million. Like, I really have a hard time wrapping my head around that number. So like Zambia, where I live, there's 20 million people in the whole country. That would be 5 to 6 products for every single person in the country. Like, it just, you know, as we talk about 110 million, I just want people to think about how huge of a number that actually is. In Zambia alone, we've distributed over 500,000 lights. So I think about even just in Zambia, the number of lights that are here that need to be fixed. So over the past 3 years, SolarAid Zambia has really focused on repair. Our first trial, we first trialed a take-back initiative, and then we sort of transitioned to repair because of the learnings that we found. People, once they had a light, even though it was broken, they wanted to keep it. They didn't want to get rid of it. So take-back wasn't really the way to go. And so we realized that repair, so in our last repair project, we successfully repaired over 1,000 products. And what we found was that 91% of those products were able to be fixed. So again, if you go back to that 110 million and 91% of them can be fixed, there's a huge amount of lights that can actually be fixed out there. And so of the lights that we fixed, 81% of them was a battery issue. So by changing the battery, as long as you had reliable batteries, the light was able to be able to work again. And so the other 19 were a little bit more complicated. They needed a PCB to be changed. They needed wiring or LEDs or some soldering. And so that took a little bit more expertise. But with all these figures, you know that a repair market needs to be catalyzed. It really needs to be prioritized. And it needs urgent support to bring all these millions of products back to life. And this also gives low-income customers another affordable option to stay connected. So what is SolarAid currently doing? So SolarAid won GDC's Innovative Launchpad for Repair, which made us the first repair trailblazers in the sector. So if you heard earlier, Kijani talked about he's part of one of the companies that SolarAid helped train. So we brought these 3 solar companies and we taught them the repair model in Zambia. So there was a company from Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Kenya. And we wanted to test our repair model in different locations with different products to see the results. And then we also shared, we have a SunnyMoney repair app, which features various diagnostics, repair instructions for technicians. So they have a visual and they can watch videos and repair in the field as well. And so it's been great to see the progress they've made in a few short months already. They've trained their own technicians, they've repaired various products, and are now refining their models. And so it makes us realize that third-party repair is not only needed, but it's also possible. So what does the future look like for SolarAid and our repair project? So as Jamie mentioned, we're looking at doing an upcoming 2-year project, and we're going to be looking in Zambia at the financial and business model of repair. So we currently have agents that sell lights in the hardest to reach communities. This is where they live. And so some of these agents have sold hundreds and even thousands of lights. And so we're going to be training them and equipping them to do repairs, but specifically battery replacements in the communities. These are some quick, easy wins for not only the repair technician, but for their customers as well. And then we'll also be working with technicians who have established repair shops in peri-urban areas, but we're going to train them specifically on solar repair. They can then do the more complicated repairs that the agents aren't able to do in the field. And so together with the 2 of them, we're building a network of agents and repair shops across Zambia, and we're planning to start this project in Southern Province. So we'll be focusing on the profitability and the sustainability of the models for the agents and technicians. But one of the problems, there's many problems, but one of the problems is quality assurance and control. If the lights don't work, we're not solving the problem. So we're going to be making up follow-up phone calls to anybody who's had their lights repaired by a technician, an agent, just to make sure. We want to see how long are these lights working? Are they lasting 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? And we want to see if there's trends in the repairs. Are there some companies or manufacturers that the lights are lasting a longer time from repair? Or are there some that, you know, we just want to see what the trends are and how and what happens. But we also need to see, is it cost effective for the agents and technicians to do these repairs? Are they able to make enough money? And also, is the customer happy with the amount of money they're paying and having the light last as long as it needs to? So there's a lot of things that we need to look at for this model to actually work. And as Kinya said earlier, repair work does not come without some other challenges. So we found it extremely difficult to get access to quality spare parts, such as batteries, PCB, charging ports, especially when the lights are no longer being manufactured. So we really need to get manufacturers on board and embrace repair. Solar companies, manufacturers, and industry associations, we all need to come together to fight this growing repair need. Thank you.
Thank you, Karla. And yes, let's go to Edward now, our final panelist from Zuwa in Malawi.
Thank you, Rebecca. Greetings, everyone. My name is Edward Mpasu. I'm the customer service manager at Zuwa. At Zuwa, we're based in Lilongwe, Malawi. That's where we have our our head office. We have a network of branches across the country, about 27 branches. We started our operations in 2016. So we started on a low note. From that time, we've grown up to date. Currently, we have up to 41,000 customers that are active, without including those that have finished paying us. Our business model is based on a cash basis as well as pay-go. But mostly, the pay-go is the one that is the backbone of the business. And we've received funding from a number of funders and partners. We've got funding from ICF as well as Venture Builder and also the World Bank. Currently, we've been doing a project that is funded by World Bank, about 2.6 million US dollars. We've been tasked to rectify houses or households up to 42,000. Currently, we are there to hit the target. So far, we have a loan book of about 1.7 million US dollars with only 9% default rate and 91% utilization rate. As a company, as a Zuwa Energy, we have sections within ourselves. One of it is the workshop where the repairs take place. We have 2 technicians that are there to support after sales. We also have a call center whereby customers report their faulty products. And when our customer service officers, they are in the field, they also meet customers whose products have been broken or they've developed a fault. The challenge that we face all along, the accessibility to spare parts. When the orders or the products are coming in from the suppliers, we're given, I think, 5%, not 5%, 1% of the products as spares, which is just too little. And when they are finished, we need to get some. It's very challenging to get these spares again after the consignment that was ordered has been used. Also, to claim warranty over the years has been also a challenge as a company. So it reaches to the extent that maybe we may have problems to support our customers. If we go around the catchment area, there are so many for the products that requires to be repaired. Recently, we went into another innovation whereby we started refurbishing batteries. We got the machines from our supplier. We get most of our products from Voltaic, based in China. So in order to replace the batteries, which is the common problem, we refurbish the batteries so that they get back to life and the customers continue to use it. And also to get those the materials for refurbishment is also a challenge, since it's a hassle to ship negative sales from China to Malawi or to any other countries, as it is considered as dangerous. So as it is now, we are trying our best to make sure that we help our customers in any way that we can do by refurbishing the batteries or using the repossessed batteries to break them and use as spare parts. As the mostly the economic side of it, we are affected by forex. We cannot order much as on spare parts. So we are just localizing things so that we still have customers paying us. So maybe we'll discuss much as we go. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Edward, and really touching on some of the big challenges that I think we face in the sector there in terms of access to spare parts and building these partnerships with manufacturers so that the distributors that are operating the services can really access the tools, the spares, and the information that they need in order to service repairs as well. I'm going to stay with Edward and just ask a follow-up question. So I know that Zuwa have been working on improving consumer experience recently as well, and actually seeing like really great results in terms of repayment rates. I just wondered whether access to repair services is actually also contributing to that, and how you've kind of integrated the two angles of business for better consumer after sales.
Yeah, the repairs have contributed to the customer experience in a way that when we localized our operations, making sure that we do not have batteries or faulty products being kept for long, and we repair them fast, take them back to the customers, and the customers' energy is not diminished, or the customers are still happy. That's increasing the energy levels of the customer. As you know, we are on a pay-go model, so those customers continue to pay. And the brand reputation is also at stake if we cannot repair the systems or the solar home systems fast. So the customers compare how they are assisted by other companies in comparing to our company. So when we saw that we need to do something, we ventured into the refurbishment of the products, of the batteries. This helped a lot because at a go we managed to refurbish a lot of batteries that were sent back to the customers. They were stuck for a long time as we could not get the spare parts. So when we ventured into refurbishment and we took all the batteries back to the customers energy revamped, and they started paying as they would not be paying without using the products. So the brand was protected, and the energy levels went up, and a happy customer also pays well, so can also get us another customer. So the experiences behind the repairs has helped us to keep the vibe up.
That's really great to hear. And I'm really interested in the fact that you're refurbishing batteries as well, because I think that's a great innovation that as a sector we can do a lot more with in sort of refurbishing and repurposing lithium batteries as well. So perhaps we'll have time to talk more about that later. I'll move back to Kudzi now at Natfort, and I'd be interested to hear a bit more about the Trailblazer program and what that means for your customers. So if I was one of your customers with a broken product, what options would be available to me now as a result of the program?
Yes.
Thanks for that question, Rebecca. Yeah, so maybe for the benefit of the audience, it might be important to just give a bit of a background to the GDC's Innovation Trailblazers program. So I think Karla has also highlighted that we received quite a significant amount of support from their team in Zambia, where we actually had our team fly out here from Zimbabwe, from Harare, to their offices in Zambia to receive that training. So the program itself is coordinated by Global Distributors Collective, and it was under a program themed Transforming Energy Access Scale-Up Initiative. And our project is focusing on last mile repair services for solar off-grid products, focusing on our geography in Zimbabwe. And the project is supported by practical action, I think from funding from UK Aid, and then SunnyMoney providing that technical support, and also helping to build that business model and financial model. And then the third partner is BOP Incorporated, or BOP Inc. Yeah, so coming back to your question, so the program itself is obviously, I think one of the backbones of the program is to strengthen our technical capacity, right? In as far as offering repair services is concerned. I think earlier on, Jamie mentioned that, about 90% of, last mile distribution companies, they do offer repair services. But I guess we're also part of that 90%. But it was just an add-on, not something really structured or something with a business model and a financial model. So what this program is helping us do is to really build a business case and make repair a integral part of the business, which can actually bring revenue and something that can be investable, something that you can actually show to the investors that, you can put money in this and we can actually turn it into a profit. So I think obviously the first thing is that those skills, a little bit more understanding in as far as the whole repair life cycle is concerned. And then obviously transferring that knowledge to the customer. But through that program, we've also sort of like built an extensive network of repair agents, because this is focusing on the last mile. And as I alluded a little bit earlier on, last mile is obviously one of the most difficult parts of the, solar sort of like distribution business when you're trying to focus on the low or income marginalized groups. So this program has helped us to build capacity, especially in those hard to reach areas, mainly leveraging on the agents that we were working with before, but also by recruiting a new fresh, a couple of other new fresh agents in areas that we believe are hard to reach, but areas that we believe we've also sold a significant amount of products. But the good thing as well is we are not only focusing on the products that we sell in our portfolio, we are now also offering those repair services to other products that have been distributed even well before we started our pay-go business. So in a way, it has helped us improve our reach. It has helped us service more clients, increase the portfolio of products that we are able to service or that we are able to repair, but also to actually build a business case that we can present to investors. Thank you.
Three great benefits there. Thank you for sharing that, Kudzi. And sticking with the kind of concept of business models now, and I think that's a really important part, because a lot of companies do repair and it's part of their service, but actually turning that then into a profitable business model that not only serves customers, but is actually an opportunity for companies as well, is really important. And it's really important for the sustainability of the sector long term. And I want to go to Kinya, who kind of operates in a slightly different part of the value chain. So not really doing the solar distribution like the other companies, but really operating the third-party repair services and quality testing services as well. So where's the opportunity for you, Kinya, in terms of third-party services and almost operating as a supplier to the off-grid solar sector?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think there's quite a number of opportunities here. We see, first of all, offering repair services can be quite expensive and logistically challenging, especially for companies that operate in multiple countries and maybe selling their products in very remote areas. As I mentioned earlier in my introduction, there seems to be like in terms of like the innovator, the manufacturer, and the distributor or supplier. I think also Jamie had a graph on this during his presentation. There's a bit of a disconnect in terms of probably what the manufacturer thinks they're offering in terms of support and how it's perceived by the distributor. I also see like there's usually a bit of a disconnect between the innovator, how they want, the kind of support they want for their product, and what is actually offered by the distribution partners, right? So while, for example, Jamie's presentation again mentions 90% of the distribution partners offered or wanted to offer support services, is also the question of the quality and the costs of the repair services that are offered. So by having like an organization such as ours, then you find that because this is what we specialize in doing, we are able to just like fine tune like our services to make it like very efficient and really focus on customer satisfaction and affordability. Another thing that we are trying to do as Kijani is hinge on the success of informal repair networks. So I will speak for the Kenyan market, but like with regards to like keeping electrical appliances such as televisions, refrigerators, mobile phones, like working, there's really like a network of repair technicians. Granted, the quality of the work that they do is usually a bit scarce, but then you have some really good ones who actually know what they're doing. And this is like a very popular model that works. Of course, it comes with its own challenges, but what you're trying to do is see how we can leverage on the success, see what we can take away from that, and sort of create this hybrid model where we have like certified technicians who are also operating the same way like the informal repair technicians would. So also creating like a training program where we get like these certified technicians to actually go there, but at the same time also have like a system for customer feedback so that we can be able to know when the quality of the services they're offering becomes an issue.
I think that's a really important point. And the issue of quality and repair is, I think, a sticky point for the sector. And it's one of the kind of the counter points that we hear from manufacturers is that, you know, the sector's spent years building products that are robust enough and can retain, you know, really high quality to withstand the environmental conditions that they're used in. And on top of that, you've also got pay-as-you-go kind of lockout technology that inherently needs some element of it to be black box so that it can't be tampered with and overridden. But these factors are not conducive to easy repair. And it's one argument against building for repair that we've heard in the sector is that it can lead to, you know, kind of reducing those protections can lead to poor quality products and poor quality repairs that affect brand reputation. But I think this is something that can be overcome. And I think as quality assurance is your bread and butter, you know, how can we reassure manufacturers that repair can be quality controlled? And what do we need to do to achieve this?
Yeah, so before I actually answer the question on like the pay-as-you-go products and the repairability of products, is something that you actually mentioned early on about manufacturers saying that their products are, you know, robust. They're designed and manufactured to be able to perform very well, like in different conditions. So there's a difference between how a product is going to perform when it's like tested in the lab, maybe even in a test chamber, and actually getting the product out to the field where you have like, you know, human factors. We introduce that. So I think that's also an issue where we have, again, most of the products that are sold in the African markets are imported, and most of them are very low quality tier 4, tier 5 products because of the cost issue. So you find that they're actually not, quite a number of them are actually not manufactured to be robust and not manufactured to be repairable. They're manufactured to be cheap and easily replaceable, if you will. They're supposed to be cheap, so if it breaks, you can quite easily get another one. We don't really have that circularity in mind, at least from my experience in this space. Now moving on to like the other question. So yeah, this is like usually a big one, and I think most of the panelists are going to weigh in on this repairability and intellectual property. Sort of, we need to find a middle ground, and I think again, what I see a place where we can find a solution is again having these like certified technicians, so where we can do training and having these certified technicians. There's one thing that I think we can take from the IT industry, in that when you look at companies like Cisco and Microsoft, they have these certification programs, right? And they have these certified technicians that are trained and qualified to handle their systems, right? And yet they can keep their IP intact. So maybe there's a couple of things that we can learn from this. Again, as Kijani, what we're trying to do is, we got into this space because of demand. We had customers coming to us because they know we have trained and certified technicians. So we are trying to do opening more service centers, but also doing like partnering with organizations such as SolarAid with the Repair Lab, so we can get like these programs out there, and maybe even have like a how do you say, like a certification, how do you say, like a sticker or something like this, that you can just like scan with your camera to know that this is certified as per certain repair program or the Repair Lab, something like that. That's how I'd answer that question.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I think, you know, being able to have a consumer actually given that empowerment to be able to, you know about the performance of a repair technician, and be informed and make choices about what's available for them, I think could be a great development, and a really sort of great achievement for the sector. Let me come now. I just want to touch, I see there's a few questions coming up in the chat that I will come to for a few minutes, and just a pointer to the rest of the audience. Yeah, please do add any questions that you have to the Q&A. And so there's one here about whether we have any insights on existing repair services, particularly with AC products, and how we can kind of integrate or leverage these services with solar off-grid repair. I wonder if, yeah, there's an example of Fundi Fix in Kenya. I don't know if, Kinya, this is something that you could respond to, or perhaps Karla, just with your knowledge of the informal sector as well in Zambia.
Yeah, I think for me, my experience with like repair programs for AC appliances, again, for me, it would just go back to the informal sector in terms of like the technicians who offer these services informally. Unfortunately, it's not usually well regulated. The quality is neither here nor there. But again, if we could again find like lessons to learn from what they're doing very well, what makes them so popular, and take that and again see how we can standardize the sector as well, so that we can get the quality of the services to be a bit better. Fundifix, if I remember correctly, were they offering repair services and they had a software? I'm not sure if I remember it. Is this what they were doing?
I don't know. I'm just reading from the Q&A. Yeah, not sure on that one. Centers who do repairs for water supply systems.
Okay, so I think this is what they were doing, in which case it would be quite similar to what we are doing. But if there's a platform involved, I usually see, again, a bit of a challenge with like the technicians sort of going off by themselves and offering this service outside the platform. Like, if you will, with the Uber app, like riding off app, I think this is something people are very familiar with. So again, how would we solve this problem?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then another question I will just pose, and then I want to come back to really sort of unpicking the issue of kind of spares and access to tools and materials before we close. But there's a question here: how do we document products that need repair, specifically in Burundi? But I'd like to kind of ask that more broadly to Karla, because I know you've done the research with your customers in Zambia. Maybe you could speak a little bit about that and perhaps how others can then replicate in their own markets as well.
Hi, sure. Thanks, Rebecca. So, I mean, I think one of the main things, I guess, to ask this person or to think about is, are they coming to third-party repair? Are they coming to, a central location? So I guess I can talk a little bit about both of those. So we have trained agents and technicians who are in the field. The agents live in their communities, and so they're usually the ones who sell the lights. And so what happens in our situation is the customers will take the lights back to that agent. And so when you're asking about documenting products that need repair, the agents are the one fixing them, but we've requested that they give us that information because it's really important for a centralized location to be able to do the quality assurance on that, because you don't want somebody in rural Zambia or rural Burundi repairing lights and then you not knowing, are those repairs actually working? And also, where are they getting the spare parts from? So I think when you're talking about documenting products, it's important to document what products has come back, but also what the customer feels the problem is. And they're not always right. They'll say that they've charged the light. And so we always make sure that when we get the products back, if they're not able to be fixed in the field, and we have our own technicians as well, that we do a quality assurance check, before we even open up the light. Like, is somebody actually putting it in the sun for a full 8 hours? And so it's really important that you document your steps that you do, not just that you're getting the lights back, but what have you done to see what the problem is? And then also, once the light's fixed, that before you give it back to the customer, have you charged it and drained it at least 2 or 3 times and documented how long that light's actually working? So I think that the question's a little vague. I'm not exactly sure what the specifics are, but I'm happy to, talk to you about this like offline. But, so there's a lot of different steps in documenting the light from the beginning of when you get it back for repair to the time you get it back to the client. Like, there can be a week or 2 in there. And so there's a lot of steps in that. So hopefully that answers a little bit, but like I said, I'm happy to have an offline conversation and answer questions.
Thanks, Karla. And then I'll just read out the final question that we've got so far before we have the kind of closing discussion in the panel. This is a question for Jamie about whether there are thoughts on introducing or utilizing a repairability index. So some European countries already have one of these. I'll start off by saying that CLASP actually have been developing a repairability index for solar appliances, but the scope of this currently is just, I think it's fans, solar water pumps, and refrigeration units. But yeah, is this something that we could expand to solar lanterns, solar home systems, for example? Jamie, I'll just hand that over to you if you have any plans in the repair lab for this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the answer is mainly what you said, Rebecca, which is CLASP is really leading the way here. And, we've been leaning into support, feeding back on the design and the papers that they've been producing. And as far as it pertains to the lab, this is one of the purposes, to not reinvent the wheel and do work in isolation. It's to see how we can support the introduction of that. Will be voluntary, I think, to begin with. It'll be interesting to follow. But yeah, then explore how this can expand to other product types. And then just very quickly to go back onto the documenting products, I think this is also where we're looking again to connect the dots. So completely agree with Karla and what she's saying. Then it's also looking at, does every distributor have to collect this same information and figure out how to repair products in isolation? This is where something like an app, where are we storing this as a collective? Because one product will turn up in many distributors' bucket, whatever the term is, to repair. So how can we accelerate access to the relevant diagnostic and repair information provided by the manufacturers? So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that there is how are we connecting the dots.
Thanks, Jamie. Great. Let me move then to the final questions that I have. One thing that we've heard from all of the speakers is this issue of access to spare parts, the information, the technical information needed from manufacturers to repair products, and in some cases specialist tools as well that may be needed to dismantle a product. I want to go to Edward and then Kudzi and really hear about your experiences trying to access spare parts. What have you tried to do? What has worked? What hasn't worked? And what's next in trying to break down this barrier? So let's go to Edward.
Thanks, Rebecca. I think the main challenge that has been there to access the spare parts is the evolution of products. When you try to get spare parts for products that were produced maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, and the manufacturer has moved on with that product, and to get a spare part for that particular product becomes a problem because they have improved that product, and the cost that is attached to for them to come up with that spare part again, it's a bit higher than it would have been when the spare part was given at the right time. So the other hassle that has been there in accessing the spare parts from our end, even if the quotations have been given, we still face our challenges to procure them due to forex issues as we are facing as a nation. So it takes time for us to get the products. So I think these two challenges makes it difficult for us to proceed or to progress in the issues to access spare parts. Sure.
Thank you. And Kudzi, how does that compare to your experience with your suppliers and in Zimbabwe?
Okay, yeah. So from our end, yeah, I guess we have faced similar challenges in accessing spare parts. And speaking of this GDC particular initiative, I don't believe anyone in our cohort, as far as I remember, has received any spare parts from manufacturers. I believe we're 3 companies, and from our discussions, we are sort of like facing the same challenges. And it appears as if there's some kind of a reluctance from the manufacturers in supplying the spare parts. I believe it's an IP issue, has been mentioned by one of the speakers. I guess the suppliers will be trying to protect their intellectual property. But yeah, I mean, we need to sort of like find a common ground because it's a real challenge, which even hinders, the efforts that GDC and the other partners are putting in, and even with SolarAid in this particular program, because, we are trying to repair all these lights, but we are not getting the kind of support that we expect or the level of support that can make this translate from the suppliers. So what then happens is that we usually then resort to procuring local spare parts, which sometimes might not obviously meet the standards. But because some of these electronic components are pretty much generic, some of these spare parts are, they're similar. They're not very different. But in a couple of instances, you obviously find some specialized parts that, only the manufacturer can be able to supply. And then we also see in as far as the technical information is concerned, there's a reluctance in releasing this information, which also makes it very difficult for us, save for only maybe the maintenance information, which is usually readily available either on the website or which comes from the product. So I think the issue of spare parts is a real challenge, and I think the industry has to come in as a collective, manufacturers and distributors alike, to sort of like find the common ground in trying to support, especially our efforts in last mile repair services.
Agreed. And Karla, let me come to you and just to kind of sum that up, and let's take a look at the, here what you're doing in the lab to really kind of try and break this down.
Oh my.
Big question.
I feel like we could have a day conversation about this and, do some brainstorming around it. One of the things that we have done, luckily, we do have very good relationships with the manufacturers we deal with. And so we have been able to get PCBs and batteries from some of the manufacturers of lights that they currently have manufacturing right now. But like everybody said, a lot of the ones that are currently out of manufacture, we can take, I don't know, the Sun King Pro, that they now have a Pro 2 and then a Pro 200 and a Pro 400. The Pro, they don't make anymore. And the battery, like everybody said, it seems like every time they update something, they're changing the battery slightly and they're changing the PCB slightly. So you're not able to use the new products. One thing that we have looked at start doing is, because PCBs are specific to, you can't really do third party really well on PCBs. What we're looking at doing is the next time we make an order, we're going to order PCBs, because PCBs don't expire like batteries do. And then we're able to keep those PCBs in our repair offices. And then that way we can use them, because they're not going to go bad in 2 years. The problem is your batteries, which obviously everybody knows, they can lose their longevity. And so we do have a third-party manufacturer in China who's done really well for us in the past. He does want specific numbers, which are quite large, which can get quite expensive. And, depending on funding and things, is difficult to get. It also takes a long time for him to manufacture, because you have to give him samples. So you have to ship samples over to him, and then he ships samples back to you. And so there are some ways around it. But really, I think that we really need to work with Solar Industries and GOGLA, CLASP, to really take the lead on developing these frameworks. Because if we can't get manufacturers on board with us, repair is going to be difficult, and you're going to have millions of lights that aren't going to be able to be repaired. And so, yeah, it's like I said, I feel like this is something that, we could do a day workshop on and try to really brainstorm. But I feel like without having the manufacturers in the meeting, it's not going to work. And if you remember what Jamie said at the very beginning, the manufacturers feel like they're supporting us. Right? When they did the survey, they feel like they're supporting us. And the solar companies are saying, you're not supporting us. So there's this disconnect. And somehow we need to come together. And I feel like that's going to take some work and effort. Yeah.
No, great response. And in some ways, I think that's a personal challenge, and one that GOGLA is really taking on, because obviously within GOGLA membership, we have manufacturers, we have the vertically integrated companies that do everything, and we have distributors. And so the challenge for us is through the working group that we have is really bring together all of those different players in the sector, and have everyone sat down and have that kind of that workshop, and let's break this down, and let's really kind of find ways to make progress in the sector as well, and find that balance and get everyone on board. I think is what we really need, and my sort of personal objective for the year as we sort of partner with SolarAid and on the Repair Lab project. So we have 10 minutes left.
I'm happy to help in any way we can, Rebecca.
Yeah, and a shout out to everyone on the call as well, is send us your ideas. How do we do that? Yeah, so we have 10 minutes left. I just want to throw out a final question to all of our panelists and Jamie as well, and it is, what is your call to action for either companies or investors and funders? How do we, as a sector, advance access to affordable and good quality repair services in the sector? So let's go to Jamie first.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. Well, as we've established, there's many things we need to do, and we need to do them as a collective with all stakeholders in. So my call to action is, if you're a funder, give us some money, please, because we want to launch this lab and continue the great work we're doing in Malawi and Zambia, and with partners such as GOGLA, 60 decibels, and many people who I'm sure are on this call. So for people on this call, it's, we're working in the background right now, and hopefully in June at the GOGLA, we can have a launch and sit around that table and start this journey of how we solve these challenges. We're working on a lot of things already, but we all need to sit down together as well. So wait to hear about the lab, or email me in the meantime, and let's go.
Thanks, Jamie. Edwards?
Thanks, Rebecca. I think from me, I think I had an opportunity to have a chat with our suppliers, the home photovoltaic, I think in Kenya. We suggested that for us to access spare parts easily, or even products when we need them, at least they should have maybe a warehouse, maybe in South Africa, whereby at least we can order spare parts easily, and we are guaranteed that we'll get the spare parts at least in a week after we've ordered. Unlike shipping small quantities of spare parts from China to Malawi, and it takes 60 days, it's not helping. So my suggestion or a call to the suppliers, I think, is to open up maybe a warehouse nearby, so that at least country like Zimbabwe, Malawi, Zambia will have a central point close by, whereby you can get spare parts easily than that as it is now. Another call, I think, is to do with the hierarchy or the bureaucracy that is involved in the claiming of warranty. I think the process is vague, especially for it feels like at the point in time, like they don't want to honor the warranties. It's like there's back and forth when you are trying to get back what was agreed. The other thing is to call them that when we are buying or when we are purchasing products, at least globally, they should at least make sure that the spare parts are given inadequate, or there should be enough spare parts when they're coming together with the products or that we've purchased, or when we are ordering them, we should have many of them at a go, other than smaller quantities. Like now, we're given 1%. I think most of us as the distributors, we get 1% from them as a spare parts on purchase. Let's increase this maybe to 10%, 5%, it will do us good so that we at least support our customers very well and frequently. We should not be in contact with them just for small quantities of spare parts.
Thank you very much, Edwards. All salient points. Kinya, from your perspective, what's the single call to action for people on the call today?
Yeah, for me, quite similar to what Jamie said, we have to collaborate. There has to be collaboration between all the stakeholders. The private sector cannot be able to do it by themselves because they tend to focus on profits, making money. You have the finances, the finances as well, invest in products that are sustainable, look at, what they're writing for warranty, look at their user manuals, if any, look at all that before you invest in a product, because that way, either way, you're contributing to the rise of e-waste. And then you have developmental agencies and basically industry stakeholders come together and help with things like the repair lab, technical working groups where everyone can exchange ideas, capacity building training, because really at the end of the day, the end users are the ones who are mostly impacted by bad quality products. Then you have the governments who are in charge of policies and regulations. So for me, it's collaboration. And as I said, we are looking to expand our operations, and we're really also looking to partner and collaborate with as many institutions as possible.
Thank you, Kinya. Kudzi, from your perspective, what can help us move the needle on repair?
Yeah, so I believe, really incongruent with what everyone else is saying. But you see, I think there's a real opportunity for companies and financiers alike. There's a lot of products that are sitting idle. From the numbers, obviously the numbers are staggering. There's so many products that are out there that can be repaired. I urge collaboration between companies that are in the space, companies that obviously have sold this product and know that there are companies like us who have now built that technical capacity and that capability to offer the services. We can, extend the longevity of these products. But also for financiers, I think right now we're obviously building a business with proven numbers. There is definitely an opportunity there for the grant investors, mainly to support these ideas, especially as we are piloting. But I believe this is obviously a fairly new area to many spaces, and there's maybe there could be need for more studies, more data to be collected. However, I see a potential investment opportunity. Particularly when you look at the end of life of these products, right? From a circularity perspective, and given the number of products that have been sold, that have been disposed, that are not working, that are just sitting out there, there could be a real business case, especially for recycling, right, of these products, which can actually produce real value. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Karla, final words, 1 minute left. What do we need?
I think that we really need to avoid the sector being reactive towards solar e-waste. I think we need to be proactive. And none of us can do this alone. We need some grant funding that will enable people to test the repair models and truly reach the poorest and deep rural communities. And so I think right now what we need to do is get these lights turned back on by repairing them and decreasing the amount of e-waste.
Thank you very much. And I just want to emphasize all of those points: proactive collaboration, funding, localization of supply and spare parts, and smoothing that kind of distributor and manufacturer relationship when it comes to spares and repairs as well. I just want to say thank you everyone for joining today. Thanks to EEP for hosting this really great discussion as part of their Knowledge Week as well. So I'll just say thanks for us and hand back to Kelly to close.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for such an insightful discussion. Thank you all also in the audience for being here. Now you heard those action points. I believe there is work to be done. So just a reminder, the recording of the session and presentation will be available soon on our website for your perusal later. And we also have put a feedback link in the chat. We encourage you to take a few minutes to let us know your thoughts on this session. And this is only day one. We invite you back tomorrow for day 2 of Knowledge Week, where we will share more information on the EEP Africa Trust Fund, announce the EEP Africa Project of the Year Award, and also present the latest call for proposals where you can apply for funding. The registration information can be found on our website at eepafrica.org. So thank you all very much, and we will see you next time. Bye.